Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you the two ways that you can actually make an EverGreen webinar inside of HQWebinar. Now let me start off by explaining what an EverGreen webinar is. Essentially it's where you take an existing webinar recording and you use that to make a webinar which you can have running continuously, rather than it being scheduled just for a particular date and time. So let's show you the first way that you can do this. So what I'm going to do is going to click on here on the Create New Webinar button. And then we'll just wait for that to load this page, and you can see, or you may remember, we've already done the live webinar, a semi-live webinar, and now we're going to do the EverGreen webinar. So I'll just click this button. It'll give you this sort of warning that to obviously transcode or render the video is obviously going to take a while, particularly so that it will work smoothly on a low bandwidth internet connection. So they recommend that you wait at least 20 minutes from the time of creating this to schedule your webinar. So just click on the button, let's create it, and it will take us into here. So like I said, this does use an MP4 video file to make your EverGreen webinar. So let's click on there, and I'll then find a video that I recorded earlier that I can use for this. Right, so let me hopefully find it. Okay, so this is the file I'm going to use, how you can use your webinar recordings inside of HQWebinar. So I just select this and I click Open. And then you can see that's uploading. Now, it probably won't be as quick as this because this actually is only a 3.5 minute video, but it's perfect to use for this tutorial. So, okay, so I'll call this How to Use Your Recordings inside of HQWebinar. I'll set my time zone. I won't worry about adding a logo, webinar tags. Yes, I'll put recordings, and I'll put HQ webinar. Okay, so the next thing we need to decide is when someone goes to the registration page, how long a countdown that we want before the webinar will start. So what I suggest you do is you make this fairly short. My suggestion, I think generally, is going to be less than 10 minutes. So I think in this case I'll actually choose 5 minutes. The idea is, of course, that you want someone to go to that page, register, and then to be actually on the webinar and not have to come back in, you know, half an hour, 4 hours tomorrow, that type of thing. Okay, so that's really all I need on this page. So I'll just click Save, and then it's going to tell you that your video is being made, and it will then take you to a page like this. And so we just need to fill out a few things on this page. I'm not going to go over it in a lot of detail, but I will fill in a lot of things. And the reason for that, quite simply, is because the details on this page, we actually cover how all of these things work in another video for when we did the live webinar. So rather than go through it all again, as we have about 11 videos, and most of these things are the same as the live webinar, you know, just look out for, you know, the description here, like this is the description of my webinar and the benefits. And you can put anything you want in here. You can, you know, have it bold and colors and links and so on, different styles, that type of thing. So again, I could put a picture, you know, logo in here. I could add more tags if I wanted, but it just picks up those I've already added. And then we have, you know, like the chat, whether it's private or public, like so, whether you want to redirect, whether it's a free or a paid webinar. But I suggest you look at, you know, the other video under the live webinar for that information. And then equally, most of these things are the same. I mean, it doesn't have webinar coordinators on here, for example, like it does on the live webinar, but things like the email funnels, the registration resources, tracking, branding, registrants, registration page builder, generate QR code, CTA, which stands for call to action, and simulated chat are all covered in individual focus videos on each of these. So, you know, please refer to that rather than me going over this again. But let's go down the bottom and save. And now what I want to do is actually show you the other way to create a EverGreen webinar. So again, I'm going to come back here to get these menu options up. And this time, I'm going to go into recordings. Now, some of you may have already watched the video on how you use these recordings, but if not, you might want to watch that. But this part of this video is going to be specific to creating an evergreen webinar from an existing recording. So if I just take this live 2 as an example, and it is only really a test, but it's perfect for what I want to show you here. So I'm just going to click on Create Webinar. See, we have the 2 options. So in this case, I want Evergreen Webinar. Same warning or message about waiting at least 20 minutes before you actually use this for a webinar. And then you see it takes me into really an identical page to what I showed you a couple of minutes ago. So let's just call this one, I think, EverGreen 2, as I think I already have one. I'll set my time zone again. I won't bother with the picture, but I could add one. I'll put EverGreen in here as a tag. And again, I'll set this for 5 minutes. So let me just save that. And that is now going to generate this EverGreen webinar. And indeed, you can, I won't worry about the other things on here because I've already explained about those, but let's save it. And then what I'm going to do is just get this link, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to open a new tab in my browser, and I'm going to paste that in. So there you see, can you see the countdown started at 5 minutes? And so we could just, let's try it. I'll put in this, and let's just put and register, and then you'll see what happens. See, so now it tells us we're registered, and it actually gives us a link to join this webinar. So I'll just click on that, and we'll wait for that to load. Testing. And you can see what it actually does is it starts it immediately. So that's how easy it is to actually create an EverGreen webinar in HQWebinar. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to seeing your awesome EverGreen webinars. Thanks and bye for now.